Hello and welcome to this week's Blox Tips. Today I'm going to talk about the calendar. Now the calendar is usually featured on the right rail on most of our websites. It may be called area events. It may be called a number of different things, but what we want to keep in mind is that it needs to be more than just a little box calendar on the right hand side. Now you can see in this particular website that we have 3 events down here that are featured, and those rotate out depending on when the page is loaded. If I were to reload the page, I might get a second set of featured events. Also down here we notice that we have a create an event button, and of course this is also the same location as if someone would click post event up here at the top of the page. So what we're looking at here is the ability for people to post their events, not just us. Now we obviously want to be posting events as we get them, just like we do for our, maybe you have a community calendar section in your print product. We want to put those up as well. Let's talk about how we do it in Blox. Now in Blox, the community calendar section is found up here on the top. It's the first item on the list. Now you may notice that this looks very much like the editorial assets interface, and it really behaves the same way. And notice we have a search box on the left, we have a search results on the right, and we have a save searches area down here at the bottom. Now these work much like an editorial asset. For example, I'll double click one of these just so we can see what it looks like. And you'll notice that in the asset editor for Community Calendar, there are a few different features from an ordinary editorial asset. Notice we have places for author, contact venue, website, whether or not this is a free event. And of course, if I were to uncheck that, that would remove the gray on this box and allow us to put in the price. Again, here we have the paste as text button that gives us the ability to paste text in. But over here is where we get to add the additional tab here, schedules. So we can add a new schedule if we want. There's start date, stop times, whether it's a repeatable event. We can manage all that from right in here. If it's something that repeats weekly, just simply select weekly and notice that it gives us the choice of having a stop date and on what day of the week that it repeats. So it may be every 1 week. It may be monthly, and it may be like the 3rd Monday of the month. So you can set this up as the 3rd Monday just by clicking those items. So that's simple enough there. The rest of the items behave just like the editorial asset editor. So we want to leave the section tag appropriate, as you know, for calendar. In some cases you may have subsections under calendar. This particular site has things for churches, classes, fundraisers, schools, sports, so on and so forth. So we can add those additional things. You can add keywords if you so desire. But another one we want to keep in mind though is the flags, and that is in particular here is the one called the featured flag. And in this case, instead of making it appear in the carousel like our editorial assets, featured flag makes it show below the little calendar box there on the right hand rail that we saw at the beginning of the video. So we want to keep that in mind. Some of the other features include things like do not publish is set on this one, and we'll get to that in just a second, but we want to make sure that everything here is set correctly, the time zone is set correctly, any related assets, if there are any photos submitted with this. And if you're creating a new event, you can go in and add a photograph or a logo or something like that to the event, and that will also appear in the featured box. Now real quick, I'm going to cancel out of the editorial view so we can do one more thing with the search box over here, and that is we want to be able to find the ones that people have submitted and approve them. So we have 2 boxes over here, one called approval status and one called user contribution. And you notice that there's been several that are contributed, but we also have a group of those that have been unapproved. Well, we want to check both of those boxes and click search. And that will narrow down a list to these ones that are not published that were submitted. Now, I want to save this search so I don't have to go back and expand these and tick these little boxes every time. So I go down here to Save Searches, click the little green plus box there, and I'm just going to call this Contributed Unpublished, much like our editorial assets. And I'm going to share this search with other people who have access to this website and save that change. And now if I were back here with all this collapsed and nothing checked over here, all I'd have to do is simply double click this and it will run that search for me, again giving me the same results. Now real quick, to make an event live, we're going to double click that event. We're going to review it to make sure that it is something appropriate and that everything is set correctly, that there are dates attached to it. In this case, you notice when I hover on it, it shows me the start date, the start time, stop date, stop time. Everything's right there that it needs to be. This looks like it's ready to go. I'm going to check the other tab. I'm going to uncheck the Do Not Publish box, simply save and close, and now that event will go live. So again, we want to keep these things in mind. We want to be current with them. Some of these events that were submitted obviously haven't been approved by this particular website. We need to be checking those on a regular basis. When those come in, make sure they get approved so they go up in a timely fashion and these community events are published on our websites. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, give me a call or email me. Be glad to help.